Djokovic, great backhand, and he can really pull the trigger by being at the baseline, hitting down the line. Now let's look at his backhand. Racket's up high, racket tracks out to the target. It's just like a wheel. It's like a second hand going around a clock. And when the swing is circular, the spin will be circular. Great step out. So the body sets the swing, swings with his arm from the shoulder. And again, a long, long hitting zone. Nadal on the forehand side. He's working on his forehand where he can hit through the court more. But when you start to watch his forehand, and we have a copy of a biomechanical screen sketch between Nadal and Federer's forehand, it's amazing how similar they are. Obviously, Federer doesn't have as much of an upward angle. But when you watch Nadal, granted the grip is extreme, but look at the position of the wrist and the position of the elbow. That's where a lot of young tennis kids will become defensive when someone says you need to change your forehand because they have a Western grip. But he's way away from his body. So he does have an extreme grip, but he does not have his wrist or his elbow in an unorthodox, awkward position. So again, both hands are on the racket, elbows bent. It looks so much like a conventional forehand. Now, the racket went way out in front, but part of his recovery is it looks like he's doing a lasso over his head. Again, that's a subtlety, a nuance, an idiosyncrasy. So the strength of the individual comes out, but he's getting the racket on edge, hands together, racket faces closed, and he generates a lot of racket head speed. Serena Williams, let's just let this run. See the circular swing, high-low high, the split step. Now it's interesting, sometimes on her backhand, she, when hitting topspin, takes the racket low, sometimes she takes the racket high. She gets way below the ball on the forehand side. Racket goes down by the court. That's the number one problem players have on ground strokes. They don't get the racket hit below the ball. You can just see the upward swing. Again, great, great champion. In watching players, you know, they come into your living room, you can watch them. Someone like Serena, so many years in the public eye. It's very interesting to talk about tactics, but when it comes down to the tools to play tennis, stroke production, she can hit the ball. You can see she's got the throwing motion. Now her wrist is collapsed on the backhand. She's taking the racket back at waist level. The right wrist, but again, the left hand does the work. Okay. Close to the baseline. But she hits the ball well, but I hope you can see it. I hope that the showing of top players hitting the ball coincides. You can just see the similarities. It matches up with what we're teaching through our organized plan, our systematic approach. Venus Williams, strokes and strategy. In the early 90s, I spent a lot of time watching her train because she was training at an academy in Delray Beach, Florida, and I was directing an academy 5 miles away in Boca Raton. And there was a great deal of discussion of the two academies merging. But just from a point of observation, she definitely changed her stroke so much, just her forehand alone. But then she's really changed her tactics. When she first played Wimbledon, she didn't go forward. But let's watch this segment. You see such a great athlete, such a great champion, and she's looking to go forward. I'd encourage all students of the game to watch film of Althea Gibson. I love the story of Althea Gibson. But she had the throwing motion from playing baseball during the World War. When the men were at war, she played baseball, like the movie League of Your Own with Madonna. And then Althea Gibson had the short courts, paddle tennis, put in her backyard, so she really learned to volley. But again, great tennis player. But I think one lesson from Venus Williams, when you watch her at Wimbledon, she's looking to force, she's looking to go forward. And that's such a key thing with juniors. Most juniors don't force. They're just hoping the other person will miss instead of forcing them to miss. Sri Chopin, top 10 player in the world. The curl in the wrist, we call it the letter U. The elbow is bent, he's turned, his feet are together, but he's going to step out. Hands are together, the racket face is hooded, the racket face is closed. So let's look at it in slow motion. It's a racket below the ball, swings away from his body, and he goes up hand to hand, or clearly hand to hand, nearly. And his hand ends up being a long ways away from his head. If you're a long way from your body on this side at the contact point, you'll be a long ways away from your body on the finish. If you're close here with the contact point, your hitting hand, your right hand, will be very close to your head. But again, you can see there's so many similarities from one player to the next. Sugiyama, the great Japanese player. A reminder is just to film players' feet. Just point the camera right at their feet, and you can tell so much by sound, also by sight, how fast one's moving their feet, and then just the noise they make. It's like watching basketball on TV. If you just close your eyes, you can just tell by the sound how much the basketball players are moving their feet. Do the same thing in a tennis court. But let's just watch this run at regular speed and just a lesson for footwork. Murray, great player from Scotland. So many things to point out. Look at the letter J toss. He just arcs the ball forward. So his arm came in and he goes out like a letter J. I like how Murray can use a variety of different speeds and spins when he plays. But let's look at the toss again. And it's a circular motion. He swings with his arm from the shoulder. He tosses with his arm from the shoulder. He hangs onto the ball until his arm is at shoulder level. But keep in mind, you want to have body rotation. The right hand on the serve is continuous. The left hand is continuous. And you want to have the toss that takes the path of the letter J. Yankovic, in an interview one time, said she needed a serve doctor. So let's be her serve doctor. She wants to keep the arm bent. She lengthens her arm too far away from her body. A toss is not far enough in front. But the big problem is she sets her hand. Her hand gets way too close to her head. So she's got problems with the swing. Now with the body, she ends up facing forward. She has two forces that are counterproductive. She looks like she's on a diving board doing a jackknife. She went to the left, and she went backwards. So again, two forces that are counterproductive. Let's look at it another time. Okay, now we'll come back and look at the serve. But get the racket face closed. Very fit, very athletic. But she needs to work on her serve. Serve's a liability. Also, she plays much better from the service line back than the service line in. She doesn't really have the confidence to go forward. Now the hand comes in, the elbow comes down. Hand once again is too close to her head. So she has what looks like scratching the back, which you know the further the racket's away from the body, the better. But so she's not sideways. She's not staying side on and swinging left to right. Remember, once again, the body's the leader. And when the body pulls to the left, it changes the angle of the racket and the speed of the racket.